Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been, yes.
Most people and most businesses can shoot a video live. Been a while.
Video of Bhadra, a dog was thrown by two medical college students from a
Okay, so hello everybody and welcome to our new episode of Extra Bytes, and I'm Jasyu Roy, and today it's our episode number 38. Yeah, so this is 38 illustrious panel discussion kind of an interview which is happening today on Extra Bytes, and today we have one wonderful photographer and an ad man. By the name, he goes by the name Prashant Godbole. And he's been inspiration to many. And the more you listen to him or the more you read about him, the more intrigued you get as to how he actually moved from something which was totally a team kind of a work, advertising, to something which he says that he does it, he prefers doing it only solo because he wants to see in his own space, see things happening, unfolding in his own space and create images on the go. And we all have seen his wonderful work. But before he gets onto that and before others get into that, let me introduce you to the panelists and the moderator, sir. And so Dinesh Khanna, sir, is going to be moderating this session. And we have Maushmi and Samar, sir, as panelists today. So over to you, Dinesh, sir. And please take it over from here.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much for inviting me here again. And thank you so much for making all the effort to do this absolutely fabulous, in a way, journey which you've, organized of photography over the last 35, 40 days. You really made the lockdown, in a way, worth it for people to be able to engage more deeply with photography and with the thoughts and ideas which photographers really work with. I'm absolutely honored to be here and moderating a session of Prashant Godbole. I've been a big fan of Prashant, both as a creative person in advertising and as a photographer. He's a man who's worn many hats. People of my vintage definitely know a particular campaign which is iconic, which he had done, and I'm sure a lot of younger people would also be aware of it. Hamara Bajaj is a tune. Forget about even the visual, just even the tune and the first few bars of it. One hears it. People like Summer and I, can get our eyes can go moist because it just evokes such a sense of pride in the nation, which any right winger would say, "Ye to boss, isko to humko apna banana padega." But it was a film which had these lovely vignettes of everything which denotes in very simple ways what our nation and our people and our lives are all about, and that to be tied up to a brand which was itself in a way the growing up brand for a lot of us in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Prashant Godbole is the man behind that. He has a career which spans about 30 years, and he's worked with almost every top agency in India. And I have had the privilege of being one of those agencies, which is Enterprise. Though I don't think we worked in the same years there, but both of us, had the privilege of working with one of the best advertising people, which is Mohammed Khan, who owned the agency called Enterprise. Prashant has, won over 250 awards on various shows like Cannes, D&AD, One Show, the New York Festival, Asia-Pac Awards, and many local and national awards too. He is passionate about photography and lives to capture life as it unfolds in a moment on film. And what those moments are so pregnant with creativity and with, just the sensitivity of what a person can feel about what's around them. Just looking at his pictures in a way, as far as I'm concerned, is an education in photography. His journey as a photographer began with the Airtel Express Yourself campaign, which won accolades for the slice of life quality of his imagery, and which is really what his photography is. And he's seamlessly, whether it's in ad films, whether it's his personal work, whether it's campaigns he's shot for numerous brands, that is something which has constantly been there. His understanding of the world, his understanding of the moment, and that is what has brought recognition for him and for the brands which he's worked for. His work for the Mumbai Mirror, hated by some, campaign won him the Photographer of the Year award at Goafest, and also picked up metal at the Cannes Advertising Awards, which for any advertising person is like winning an Oscar. His photography for the Indian Outdoor Advertising Association won him the Photographer of the Year award at Goafest again, and picked up gold and silver at the Asia-Pac Awards and silver at the Clio Awards in New York. How can one man, do such great work and win so many awards is something which is, it is, and fortunately he's going to be talking about that work, what inspires him, what his thinking is behind that, and how he conceives it and puts it out to the world to enjoy. Today, aside from being one of the founder NCDs of Creative Boutique Ideas at Work, he works on photography projects for reputed brands and gives guest lectures at various art and photography schools across India. And we are privileged to be here to listen to him talk about his work today. Over to you, Prashant.
Thanks. Thanks, Eric. So lovely. Thanks, Hamar. Thanks, Mashmi, for being here. Great admirer of everybody's work. I mean, Samar, I saw his work at F-Stop and completely blown. I also met him in Goa. So it's really a privilege to be here. Let me just share screen and let me just tell you my little. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is my self-portrait. I've kind of shot this at JSW.
Faceted man.
JSW. There's a sculpture there made out of mirror, and I kept looking at it, and suddenly I saw my face like a multi-faceted. So I
think this is younger you.
took a selfie of that. Let me just tell you my brief. I told in F-Stop, I stood first in Maharashtra in '82, and I had several job offers. And the biggest agency in those days was Clarion. I don't know, it's no longer there, but that was the biggest agency in India. So they offered me jobs. So I joined that agency, and within 10-15 days, there was some product, a hair oil product, where this woman was holding a pack of hair oil, and the hair is supposed to be non-shiny because it's a non-greasy oil. And art director in those days, Ajit, said, why don't you go and supervise the shoot? Since you've done the sketch and all, you go ahead and do it because I'm busy with some other. So he said, I called Gautam Rajadhyaksha, and he is going to do the shoot. So you just go, hang around there and supervise and come back. So, I took the address and all, very excited, first time, going for a shoot. And I climbed this 3-story building, and I went up to big posters, and I heard his name, and I heard about how he shoots all the Bollywood heroines, and he's one of the best. And so I was quite excited. So I rang the bell, and a gentleman came, I think his assistant or somebody, and he said, what do you want? I said, I come here for a shoot, and I was supposed to supervise the shoot. And then he looked at me and said, oh, you're going to supervise. And I was 20. So I had no idea, because that's what my art director told me. you go and supervise the shoot. So I said, okay, I've come here to supervise the shoot. And I went in, sat there, and I can hear, there is one young boy who has come to supervise your shoot, and he's going to tell you what to do. Gautam, be ready. So I can hear all that. So after some time, stylist came, model came, and the stylist asked, kept all those 5-6 different dresses on the table, and a lot of accessories and jewelry and all sorts of things. She kind of laid it on the table and started putting on a hanger. Mickey came. Mickey Contractor was a makeup artist. I mean, Gautam used to always work with Mickey. He's a brilliant makeup artist. So he was there. And I could hear, the gossip started happening behind, that this young boy is going to ruin your day. So the first, and just let me tell you this little background. I mean, I got 4 brothers. My mother is a teacher, and she was a primary teacher. So the only makeup she had was, a comb or some ticklies and mirror. That's it. I mean, there was no question of. So Mickey came and said, what kind of makeup you want? Do you want glamorous? Do you want nude? Do you want this? I mean, he kind of rattled off 6-7 names, and I was looking at him and said, I don't know what I was talking about. And this girl came and said, what kind of accessory you want? Which kind of loops you want? The ear loops. And I had no clue about anything. I don't have any clue about fashion. I don't have any clue about makeup, and what to wear. And I said, this is what I have to do. I thought I was going. So they were asking me, one after another, people started coming in and asking, what kind of background you want and where do you want to place and what kind of lighting, do you have any references? I have no clue. So they were taking my case, I realized quickly. Then I just sat there and I said, let me just discuss with Gautam and I'll let you know. And they all dispersed. So I mean, he was on the phone in another room. So I went in and I said, sorry, can I talk to you? He said, yeah. I said, see here, I mean, there is a misunderstanding. I mean, the word I used was wrong. And I have no clue what is happening here. I don't know anything. So you have to take all the decision. My boss said, just go hang around there because client is going to come. And, they need some agency representative. Then he looked at me and said, how long you're working in this agency? I said, 15 days. He said, okay, don't worry. I'll look after that. And I mean, the Mickey took 1 hour, 1.5 hours to do his hair and makeup. And I mean, hairstyle also he asked, what kind of hairstyle you want? And no. So basically I was completely an idiot in those days. And then this girl took about 15, 20 minutes or half an hour to kind of get dressed. She came, Gautam said, okay, darling, sit on that ledge. And he took photographs in like 10 minutes. I waited there for 2.5 hours. In 10 minutes, he finished the shoot. He must have taken 2 rolls. She was holding a pack. She gave him 2-3 poses and out. She said, shoot is over. He ordered nice fish, curry and rice for us. We ate and we packed off. Next day, I got roll. And then I called up Gautam saying, thank you very much for saving, because I had no clue. He said, remember one thing, next time you want to become a good art director, you have to do your homework and go to any assignment. If you don't do your homework, you will always get fooled by these people and you will do bad work. So you have to be prepared next time when you come here. And then I kept chatting with him on and off whenever there is an assignment because that's my first lesson. You need to go completely prepared. So whenever I go for a shoot, I have references. If I don't understand anything, I go to the expert and say, okay, please tell me what is this makeup called. I show them references. And then if somebody asks what kind of makeup you want, I want nude. I want, HD makeup. I mean, these are all the terms I never heard of. And this is the first time I kind of started learning things from all these people because I realized it's very important that you're not only an art director. You have to take the decisions on the spot saying, okay, I want this dress and this dress will go with that. And why do you need to? So every decision has to be taken in relevance to the product and product category. I mean, that's the basic lesson. I just wanted to give you this background because homework for a photographer and for an art director is so critical. if any young guy ever will listen to this nonsense, he will remember this. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share some of the campaigns I've done with all great photographers in my life. And a lot of campaigns I don't have with me because there are some great photographers I work with. I work with Prabhudo, which is an enterprise, Raymond. I don't have any reference of that. I work with Gautam, I don't have any reference. I work with Atul Kasbekar, I don't have any reference. But whatever pulls or images I have on a computer, I'm going to share that with you because these are all the recent campaigns. And so I'll go through that first. As an art director, I kind of supervised all these cameramen and photographers. Then I'm going to show you the campaigns that I have done as a photographer. And then if you have any questions, then we can talk about it. So the first campaign I want to share is Clio, which I have worked with Sopan. Again, once you get an idea, I mean, our job is to come up with the idea and then make sure that you go to the best photographer. So in the meanwhile, what also happened was, I said, how do we decide which photographers one should go? In my first job, so the senior art director said, you know, what you need to do is you start looking at all people's photograph, and then in your head compartmentalize. Think if this guy does nice journalistic work, so go to him for that. This guy is a great tabletop guy, go to him for that. This guy is a great fashion. This guy is a great hair. This guy is a great, you know, so, I mean, interiors and whatever. So he kind of created a chart of photographers and he kind of noted down, okay, these are the good guys. So these are the 5 great guys to do interior shots. These are the 5 good guys who will do. So if one guy is not free, in those days, getting a photographer was extremely difficult. You know, they used to be booked for months. I mean, Ajit Patel used to be booked for 3 months if you want to do just the tabletop with him. So, so there was a kind of, you know, Farooq Chotia, if you want to do hair and makeup and style and so you go to Farooq. So blindly just go and work with him so that you will not go wrong. They always work with the best people and you can always learn from them. So that thing I never forgot. And I said, since I had no clue about photography, so this is how I started learning about photography. And this is the campaign I've done for Clio. So the idea was fits. Basically, I've done this in enterprise. This guy who's you see his back is John Ibrahim, by the way. He used to be a client servicing guy, and we saw him and I said, your legs are very good, your ass is very good. We don't want your face because you're too chikana. So Sopan and I decided not to use his face. We'll only use his body because he was a good bodybuilder and he was a servicing. So he agreed. We kind of used to go and shoot. So I have created these sketches sitting with Sopan and my copy partner Zarwan, and we created lots of like 20-30 different ideas where we can fix the 2 different people together and create a new picture. And those, out of that, I think we shot 7 or 8, and I have 3 here, and we kind of created as a one-piece image rather than doing a cut paste. In those days, you know, cut paste was not in existence, and Sopan was a very stickler that I don't want to do anything. I want to do everything correct. So I used to support that because that's what gave that extra edge to my campaign. So this is the first ad I've done. I mean, out of the lot. This is my JJ School of Art. Again, this is John Ibrahim's legs, and there was one artist who was painting. So we created a kind of a division in the middle, and he was sitting. You couldn't see him, and he kind of created a stretch image. It's called Classic Fits. It's basically, we just have to create irreverent visual so that people will remember. Whole idea was to create something unique and different so that people should stop at the photograph rather than, you know, just flip. I mean, you've seen a lot of people wearing jeans and, you know, doing all sorts of things with girls, but you just seen that kind of images so many times that you don't want to. So by creating a unique image, this campaign really worked for them and the brand has really took off. Again, this is a classic fit. In those days was the idea. And then, I mean, in those days, women wearing jeans was very, you know, very few. So we created this interesting Parsi image. And Sopan wanted 40 feet crane because all these lines were going wonky. They're shooting from down. So for him, we could hire this huge crane. And for still photographer, it was like a tam jam. So we had a simple one shot. And this window was on the third floor. So we got a 40-foot crane and he was sitting on it and he was trying to shoot So still you got these wonky lines and we kept it as it is. I mean, there was no question of correcting it and straightening it in those days. So just image as it is full. And just the logo was added with the classic fits. So this is the campaign, and this is the one thing I learned from Swapan is you should never compromise. You should go all the way out to get the right image. I mean, getting the cat there and getting the kid to look at, and and he was screaming from cat is not looking here. That's I mean, but it was a fun to watch him shoot, and that's the learning I learned is you need to be very hardworking. You need to be non-compromising when you're shooting. So this is the campaign, and this campaign won every award, again, internationally in India and all. And Swapan became photographer that year. So, and I must have done about 20 campaigns with him, by the way. So most of his advertising work is done with me. At least 60-70%. Rest is all with other agency. Then I got an assignment to do work on Anasin. And I'm not going to show the film. I have a film also on this. So what we said was, the thought was that, India is a very chaotic country. And in that chaos, you get a headache. And this is a great solution for that. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
And for that kind of messaging, I thought it's a great idea to get a journalistic picture. So we approached Raghurai, I think. Raghurai, I bought a picture from him. And then other two pictures are from Magnum. So they sell stock images. So this is the campaign we have done. You always get a headache once you hear this terrible. Sometimes they're a good singer, but sometimes they're really bad. In Bombay, and bhajana is a very big thing. So it's kind of, you get a headache normally, kuch lete kyun nahi was the idea. And that we scrapped it and got it into a very day-to-day slice of life kind of image, which actually gives you headache. I mean, you get a traffic jam, on top of it is raining, it's monsoon, so it kind of worked brilliantly for them. And then Lathi Morchas and women, So all these images are stock images. But, I used to think, how the journalists used to think, and thanks to the influence. Because I started working on Times of India, I did a campaign with Mr. Raghurai at Calcutta. So first, the moment I used to get brief, I used to say, okay, how will the journalist will look at this entire problem? And let's do that as my campaign. So this is a new way of advertising I started. I mean, until those days, people never used to, only if it is a newspaper or a publication, people used to do journalistic kind of work. But then I kind of started this way of advertising in India. Then that's a stock image, and one of the images is Raghurai, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The another campaign, which is very interesting, I used to work on Colgate for 10 years. And I got very friendly with Vikram Kaushik. You will remember, Vikram Kaushik was
oh yes, he was my boss in Enterprise.
Yeah, he was our boss in Enterprise.
Yes.
Then he joined Colgate.
Right.
And Vikram...
He came from Levers and...
Yeah. He joined Palmolive. So Colgate Palmolive. And then when I joined Rediffusion in those days, and the Colgate was our client. So I first time saw Vikram and quite delighted to see him there because I didn't know he was a head there. So the brand manager said, we are launching this soap, so we have to come up with the idea. So we did some kind of a strategy presentation, and I had some rough scribble done on a piece of paper, like a small piece of paper, and that we presented to Vikram. So Vikram said, okay, lovely, go ahead and shoot. So he said, where do you want to go and shoot? I said, Seychelles. He said, who do you want? I said, I want Farooq. Farooq shoot had to be a photographer. He said, how much it will cost? He said, you're not going to, I said, if you shoot in India, it's going to cost you whatever. In those days, it was some 3 lakhs. So I said, in that cost, I'll do it in Seychelles. So I put out Farooq and said, let's go. And then he kind of convinced Ujjwala Rao to come with us. And we did this campaign and it really worked. I mean, they sold off all their products. And that brand manager was aghast to see a piece of paper I showed Vikram a sketch and he sanctioned whatever money. And he said, how can you do that? He said, don't worry, I trust him because I worked with him before. So they work like this only. So don't worry. So he kind of given us go ahead. So we went and shot this. I mean, I got few ads. Entire pack was transparent and it's very beautifully written copy. It's written by Zarwan and Karthik. It's how you get stress-free when you're, I mean, that's how it kind of basically says. So this is shot by Farooq. I mean, it's interesting to, and there I saw how the fashion and we used to constantly talk about photography. Once the good thing about being an art director is you can chat with photographers and you can solve all your queries and understand how they work. And so most of the time I was holding reflector because there was no budget, and he is convinced that Vogue, whatever the fashion stylist, to come along and do it free because he will give you free trip. So it's a kind of very, but
very common industry, but very creative.
So, yeah. So the assistant was fighting who will hold the reflector from front. So don't worry. So we used to have fun and jokes, but it's a great fun shooting there. I must have done some 17, 18 ads. 2 days we shot at different islands and beautiful. It worked out fine. Everything again won several awards thanks to beautiful copy. Stephen Brother is a brand where Reed and Taylor guys bought a small shop which used to sell the garments, very high-end garments. They used to supply it to the Queen and King and in England. So they bought that shop and they wanted to advertise in India. So I thought Tejal will be a brilliant guy to shoot this campaign. He does fashion and all. So we discussed, we created a thought. It's basically, if you want to talk about suits, it used to be only Italians used to know how to make great suits. And our partner Zarwan and everybody decided that we should position it as the best suit made in England. And we'll make a fun of English people and how they behave. And we'll do the whole campaign based on that. So we decided to use a bowler hat as their symbol and created this campaign.
Wow.
And they didn't have money to go to London. So we said, we'll go to the Prague and shoot. Who knows? In India, who knows what is where? So we went to Prague and shot this. Hired a beautiful palace and did some 3-4 days shoot and came back with a billion shots. And 2 years they ran this campaign. And because we shot so much in 2 days, that they could actually run for 2 years. So established in 19, established ever since. And impeccably English was the idea, and how English behaves apparently closer than Bond Street, and preferably and perfectly honest, it's a nice weather. So we created this very graphic triangular composition, and Tejal never shot this kind of thing before. So I forced him. I mean, all these fashion guys use very long lens and close up of nice portrait and posing. I said, I don't want, even if you pose, it should look surreal. So we kind of created these very surrealistic images, and that again picked up lots of awards everywhere. He also got Photographer of the Year for this campaign. So we've taken different movements that happened, and very graphic. We tried to copy the sculpture. Sorry, I've done anything. What happened? Can you see my screen?
You can see, yes.
Yeah, it's back now, but it's not full screen right now.
Okay, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
You just come back.
Yeah. So recommended accessories, a drive it. So very nicely written campaign. What is happening?
Slide itself is black actually. Yeah, I think, yeah.
Wow, this is so beautiful.
Yeah, there's a one black side. Sorry. No, so that's a
That's a film. That's a video.
That's the video.
I don't know what video is this. Okay, so Bajaj has come here by mistake. Sorry. Anyway, so this is another the series, and then we kind of desaturated images and created this lovely feel.
You had a minimalistic style right from the word go. So
Yeah, so that's the training. I mean, I've picked up in advertising because the less is more. You know, the more you show less, and the more focused you become at the subject that you're trying to, and it makes it even more. The impact is far better if you. I mean, there are lots of people who do very complex visuals and all. That is also interesting side, but to me, the less is better. And it's more difficult also to do
yes, because a campaign, if an image might not be understood by many, and it does not really matter also at times, but a campaign has to deliver that message.
Correct.
No matter what.
Yeah. So that's the objective. And in advertising, it has to be because it's a visual language you are communicating. So the visual should tell you the story, is the idea. So visual should communicate. So even if you don't read the copy, people should get what you are trying to say. So that's the simplicity. It's a nicer thing. So again, W, which is again Delhi brand who wanted to do a campaign. So they had a spring collection. So I said, why can't we shoot women as a spring? And I don't want to show them salwar kameez, and I mean, everybody does that. So I said, if the essence is spring collection, let's try and create spring collection. So we've created these, and this is shot by Prasad. So we created this 10, 15 feet flower, made the girl sit inside. So it's actually great. There's a very nice stylist called Little Shilpa. She has done this styling. It's a brilliant cheese. And we went to these Alibag side where you created all this foliage that is HMI in the background, so that to create a sun. And this is shot late evening sometime, and so you just created that feeling of spring, because at the end of the day, feeling is important rather than trying to show the fabric. So we created this mood effect, and again, it worked brilliantly for the client. And Prasad got campaign of the year for this photographer. So for me, it's a nice thing, because the campaign that I worked with, the photographers picked up photographers, and their career has gone better in advertising industry because people started looking at them nicely. That's again another photograph where we created this 25 feet flower. She's created. I didn't do anything. The girl was sitting there, and then the ripples formed. So this is a very interesting campaign done by Prasad Naik. And I was the art director, fortunate enough to work with good people.
I think this is a very different kind of campaign for W, because otherwise you get to see this.
No, so W, I mean, you will always see the women wearing, salwar kurta. I mean, they're doing catalog rather than sell the feelings. And for me, advertising is all about feeling. I mean, people buy into the emotions rather than, because if you buy into Tata because you trust them, and not because they manufacture salt. So people work on the emotion. People work on the India, definitely. I mean, Hamara Bajaj is one of those. It's pride of ownership. I mean, whether it's a Kawasaki or anybody, but I'm Indian and I love India. Is what people buy into. So I kind of understood that early in life. You need to, if you're doing advertising, that's what you need to capture in advertising or in messaging or in photography or in illustration. This is again interesting campaign I've done, and it's a good because it's all computer graphic and photography. So this brilliant photographer I saw his portfolio and it's absolutely surrealistic. And I told him we need to create something really unique. And I've taken a references of Erte, he's a very famous illustrator, painter. And I said, see how he has done beautiful drawings of this women and the way it's very Art Deco-ish look, artist he is. So I said, why can't we create something like this? And then we decided to shoot this model and then the idea was goddesses of different kinds. So goddesses of earth, so this is a Venus. And I've taken a reference of Botticelli. The Venus is coming out of the water. So we created, waves with the jewelry, and she's coming out. And again, and all these sets are more than 25-30 lakhs. Some pieces were more than 50 lakhs. So to get that kind of very, absolutely arty feel, we did this campaign. So the model was completely white, makeup white, very little. So it's all hard work done and it's small studio. We shot these models and then he did computer graphics on top of it. So we went one day and shot all his jewelry, in his showroom only with the flash cut, he went. And there was no major light, nothing. He just took off all that and created these beautiful images. So all this is a Daphne, the goddesses of moon. So we created this. And then each goddess has a story. So, and it's still there. I mean, we've done this campaign. Sanjay Kothare is a photographer, is a brilliant photographer. And you should see his work. It's amazing. He just combines things like, unbelievable. And I like to work with these, eccentric, way, guys who want to do perfection. I mean, he took 6 months after shooting to finish the campaign because he said everything has to be immaculately right. And he sat and, each piece is retouched and created and placed correctly. And you can't make out, these are their pieces. And he's taken their pieces and created this beauty. So he's amazing, this guy is. Then I used to work on Times of India at Enterprise. And again, I got Sopan to shoot this campaign for me. And the whole idea was Day in the Life of India, Times of India. And Prasun did those films and put it up, take it down. There's a famous film, and the hockey film you must have seen. The guy bribes all the way through and the money comes back to him. So those films were happening parallelly and we wanted to do the press campaign. So how do we depict Day in the Life of India? And I mean, it's, you see these weird signs in and around India. And I had a collection of different signs. So I went to Mavan and I said, why can't we do this? So he agreed. So then Sopan and I decided to roam around and we did research where you will find such fantastic signs or messaging and all. And we did this campaign. Rest in peace. Is it, and then there is this man sleeping there. So we put some chicken there to get the crow and dog. So we used to create things around to make it feel absolutely natural. Again, this cross is going, and this again got D&AD, and Sopan also got again award this year also as a photographer. Bathing is prohibited, survivors will be prosecuted. This is a sign in some Rajasthan lake. So we went there and shot. And then there was this log was there, but the way Sopan composes it, perfect, 20-30, and then this hand is aligned to the mountains and he's breaking this entire frame by the reflection. So, I mean, the way, and we got this, I mean, it's all staged. There's nothing not staged. So all these guys were posing. The boat has to go exactly in that negative space. There's a cameraman. I think this was me or somebody, because we didn't have people. So two of us used to roam around and shoot the campaign. That's it. I mean, we went to, and we found a very nice, I mean, I'll show you some. Yeah, complaints about elephant to be made here. It's somewhere in Rajasthan fort. So complaints about elephant, this is what happens. And And Swapan these days don't like this hands coming, but in those days he was totally into this, and the hand should come and the image should get cropped like this. And he's now evolved. But in those days it was like too much, Magnum and Agora and all that. So we used to have fun and listen and work. And so across India we used to travel and do, I must have done 10, 15 campaigns. So we had a very funny sign that we found. The Mahadik pumps used to sell water pumps, but you couldn't do that. But it was very funny. And there was a one very bad Sardar joke also, which we never ran because head repairing shop. I think that the head of some machine, they used to call it head, the car machine, car something. So that repairing shop was there, and that the sign was that big head repairing shop, and then the Sardar was building the feta. These guys said, no, you can't run this because it may, you might create riots. So we never ran that campaign. But we used to find very funny signs, and we used to kind of collect these. Sorry, there's nothing. We just thought as a fun, and we always do jokes on Parsi. I thought it was one of those things, but it never ran. This is a very famous restaurant in, I think it's in Metro, where they have written an instruction. It's a very Parsi Irani restaurant. There's no talking to cashier, no smoking, no credit, no outside food, no sitting for long, no talking loud, no spitting. And there's a huge list of what you should not do. No beef, no, so, and this is what India is all about. So it's basically, there are too many restrictions is put on people. And we create, that guy said, you can't shoot here. So then I said, Baba, we kind of exposed ourselves. So someone said, okay, I'll go now. I'll keep the camera on the table. Whoever is sitting, we will convince that woman later that I'll pay you. So we kept the camera. He ordered something. The guy came with a glass and he took this candid shot. And then eventually we paid these guys, catching them outside and got their permission. So, it's like a completely, and that guy still don't know if we released this shot in his hotel. Maybe after looking at this, he will. So, but this is a very famous sign, and we look for those kind of signs. It was fun. And again, Sopan, we did Tata campaign. Everybody's seen it. So exploration. So there's the idea was that it's a Tata enterprise. So what is the Tata enterprise? They explore, they innovate, they think ahead, they're transparent, they're natural, So all those values of the company was the Tata enterprise, and that's the corporate campaign. So how do I show exploration? And through the kids, we said, okay, we'll show and kids was the idea that we said, because they're so transparent and they're so naive. We should use kids in their day-to-day and utilize that as an analogy and put it on Tata. So it's a beautifully written campaign, exploration at Tata Enterprise. So this, again, how to do this, and single piece and no cut paste. So we created this fish tank, 3 or 4 feet tall, very thin depth. And we poured Bisleri water into it and put fishes. And to hide the edge, we asked somebody to put the hand up. So it looks like, the fishes are flying in the air. And it was quite, and then trying to get all those kids in a right place is what is the madness that we have to face. But it was a fun, trying to choreograph and see all these people. Opportunity, it's like so again, this is a photograph done. Sharing, 2 sisters, twin sisters and a brother, they're sharing a mustache. So we just created a very fun, pictures that became again, all these campaigns have won award somewhere or the other in India or abroad. It's just that show that if you have the concept and if you work with the right people and right photographer and you can always create an interesting.
Sir, just one thought.
Yeah.
Now, all these images, they are Tata Motors, and nowhere do you get to see any of their vehicle, and it's all about emotions and all.
No. So it's all about this was a corporate campaign. It's all about their values.
All right.
The value of Tata is sharing. It's caring. You know, they run so many trusts and cancer hospitals and this and that. So that's caring. So caring was another campaign, another ad. I mean, I don't have all the ads, but we've done some 10, 12 ads. So all those good values of Tata, we tried to depict through kids, and we created this campaign.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so where is that Bajaj ad? Everybody's seen it. Shall I play that or?
Yeah, please, sir.
Oh, no,
Yeah, you must.
of course.
Every time you play it,
Let's do that.
Where was that? Wait. Just,
aage. No.
This was here somewhere.
Yeah, right, somewhere there.
After W. No, not after W. Before W.
Number
Before
35.
W.
35.
Prashant number 35, I think. No, sorry, even earlier.
Yeah, this one.
I think this one.
19.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay, so I'll start. You know, why I show this. The campaign is done by several people. It's not only me. I mean, it's nice to say, yeah, I started my career with Bajaj, but it's not only me. I mean, the thought was Kersi Katrak, who was our creative director. Alec was involved. Me and my partner Rahul Dakuna, our role was to come up with the visuals that can go. And in parallelly, Jaikrit Rawat, who was writing a jingle or the copy for that, because Kersi came up with the idea. That it's a pride of ownership. India is Bajaj and Bajaj is India. And he told me clearly, I don't want to see India means, you know, Taj Mahal ke samne Bajaj khadi kar diya. I don't want to see that. I want unique images of India, and it doesn't have to be iconic images of India. It has to be day-to-day life. So he pushed us out and said, you know, you just go outside and look at what people do with the scooter, write that down. If anything interesting you find people are doing with the scooter, you should note that down, and we'll try and replicate that in our film and in our ads. So Rahul and I went. Rahul is a brilliant writer. Now he runs the agency called Dakunas. He does all these Amul holdings. All these brilliant Amul holdings are done by him. So he was my partner, and we worked together for many years. So we went out and saw all the images. So we must have written about more than 200 visuals, what people do on the scooter. You know, as a bacha, people are doing vroom, 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 to anything that you observe. Kids are sitting up, you know, other way around. Kids are standing in front. All sorts of things we kind of observed. You know, people carrying fish, people carrying tokris on their head, people holding an umbrella. So we just noted down all the things that people have done on the scooter. And then given that entire list to the director, Jaikrit in the meanwhile wrote the jingle, which Bajaj has approved. And then Shumandro, who shot the film, I think Louis Bang did the music, and Barunda did the cinematography, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Barunda. Barunda composed the jingle, by the way, while drinking in the evening. Remember that? He composed the sound and then given it to Louis Bang to, you know, compose it further. So this is how the campaign has happened. And the good thing is that I learned how to observe on the street thanks to this campaign. Wait, sorry. I think I'll play small.
ये ज़मीं है आसमां, ये ज़मीं है आसमां, हमारा घर, हमारा बाग, हमारा घर, हमारा बाग, बुलंद भारत की बुलंद तस्वीर, हमारा बजाज, बुलंद भारत की बुलंद तस्वीर, Hamara Bajaj, Hamara Bajaj.
So there are lots of interesting images added by directors. I mean, it's a combination of everybody. It's not only me. So I want to be absolutely clear, because there's a lot of list of people who work on this account, and all these campaigns.
आपकी शायद voice कम.
Prashant, the voice is.
I think better. I think it's better now.
No,
Yeah.
so basically it's a team effort is what I wanted to tell. That's how. So this gave me, this campaign actually helped me look at the street very carefully, because I started then observing how people behave on the street. And, and I'll show you the next campaign, Sopan, I wanted Sopan to shoot again because he was my favorite photographer in those days, and I still is. But I said, so Sopan was going on his holiday or somewhere, and he said, I can't shoot. He said, go, I mean, you can find anybody. And I said, but nobody does compositions like you do. So I was slightly upset. Then there's a guy called PC Dubash, who was an old photographer in Bombay.
Prashant, your voice is very muted.
Is it on mute? Sorry.
नहीं, बहुत कम आवाज आ रही है थोड़ा आपको.
There is a screen share. किधर गया? Can you hear me?
It's better, but not entirely.
Very faint.
Very faint. You can come out of the screen share coin again, I think, probably.
Stop screen share?
Yeah, stop and then come in again later.
Stop screen share and come back again.
Come back again.
Can you hear me now?
नहीं, it's the same. I think वो वीडियो के ऑडियो के साथ कुछ चक्कर हो गया.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I think it's better than before, but still
Very
needs to be
low, huh?
raised.
Prashant, try and check your monitor speakers.
No, it's full. It is full.
Mm.
Can you hear me now?
थोड़ा
We can
shout
hear
करो.
you. It's just a bit muted.
It's okay. चलो.
Ozan, thank you.
थोड़ा shout करो यार और क्या.
हाँ, चिल्लाता हूँ मैं जरा.
बस हो गया काम.
Okay, so let me show you this Airtel campaign. That's what Sopan was supposed to shoot, and so this Pesi Duma said, "Why don't you shoot it?" I said, "I don't know photography." He said, "Just take my camera. I'll put it on auto, and you shoot the campaign." So he has put it on, I think, F8, and he said everything was on auto. So I shot the whole, with this film, I shot the campaign. I'll show you the film and then I'll show you the campaign. So again, this campaign, okay, let me just show next film and then I'll talk about it. Sorry.
Whose music was this? So I mean, this
Yeah,
music.
Rahman.
Okay. Oh wow.
It's really haunting music.
It's absolutely haunting me. That's what I was, trying to figure it out.
There's a good story there because we shot this film in 4 days, and Airtel had a contract with Rahman. So we contacted him and said, "We have done this film, so we want you to do the music." So this marketing guy was with us, young, small executive. So he was there and he started hustling Rahman, saying, when can you give it, sir? Can you give it next week? Because we want to release the campaign. Some IPL is coming or some cricket match was happening. So he said, why 1 week? I can give it to you today by this evening, but it will be so bad, you won't run it. So if you want good music, you need to wait. So Rahman told him to fuck off, basically. And he took 3 months. And he said, I'll give you the film after 3 months because I'm going to China to do some feature film he was doing somewhere in Shanghai. And so the client waited for 3 months because Mittal said, I want Rahman, nobody else. So we waited, and then the rest is history. I mean, this campaign has kind of really did well.
Yeah, fabulous campaign.
Mittal, I think it's one of the best marketing campaign for in telephony communication that year, and he picked up award in London. So he was quite proud of, Mr. Mittal was quite proud of that.
This is especially the music that has added so much into it.
So lot of people that time thought this is all stock images, but only for Martin Luther King, Nusrat Fateh Ali, and so 2-3 are stock images. We bought it from their charities. The rest is all shot, and we created this old effect and treatment, and how the scratches and everything. Even Gandhi was created. So all these shots, even the wall falling down is created. So it's all sets. And
wow.
So doing the detailing was fun with Ravi Udyavan, who was the director. So with these films, I did these still shots because it was happening in the film. And so this again picked up some awards. So then I realized I can shoot. I can take the photograph. And this is a very simple, this guy blinded in a riot. So we paid, instead of, we paid him quite a lot of money for his education. Airtel said, we will support him. This image, again, it was part of the film, and I saw the Outlook competition was happening. And I was young. I mean, I used to enter this competition in those days. So it was a photography competition. So I thought, this looks like a journalistic image. Outlook, we'll send it. So as a cheat, I sent this image, and they thought it was real. And Steve McCurry was judge, and Dayanita Singh was judge. And they given this photograph a prize, and they thought, this is actually it's a street image. Then they wanted a big print. So I went to Sopan. I said, we have to make a good print of this, yeah. So he said, okay, what happened? I said, no, this picked up an award. I said, who was the judge? He said, Dayanita Singh and Steve McCurry. He said, but they must have thought this is a journalistic image. So I said, what do I do now? So he said, you should write to them. I mean, this is not fair. So I said, okay, why don't you call, since you know Dayanita? Just call her and tell her if you want to withdraw it now. I mean, I don't want bad blood or, somebody complaining. So he called up Dayanita. Dayanita said, oh, this is what it is it? So then they spoke to each other and said, we don't give a damn, image is brilliant, so give the award. So I got the award for this image as a photographer. Then I seriously thought I can be a good photographer. So I started doing photography thanks to him. So these are the images I've taken, few images I've taken in that while the shoot was happening. So I didn't do anything. It's all auto mode. I just clicked as the scene was happening. I've just, tried to anticipate the moment and capture is what I learned while working with Ragura and Swapna, and they constantly talk about such things. So I was consciously looking at the things and shot this campaign. IOA, which I've So this is Outdoor Association of India, which is a body who runs outdoor publicity across India. And they wanted to do a campaign asking people, advertising agencies, to use more outdoor as a holding, as a media. So the idea that Paddy, who is a brilliant art director, came up with, saying, if you take indoor, medium, outdoor, you get a better eyeball. Even a indoor medium, which is like a radio, if you put outside, you will attract more people. How do I show that? So we said we'll create these, again, surrealistic images. So we went to Run of Kutch and got some farmers there, put one broken box. Just two of us went there, created this. I mean, the farmers, they had camels and all. We just shot and came back. We went there for Reiki, finished the shoot and came back. So this is one of the, and the way you compose, I mean, that's fortunately I understood very nicely, how to compose. And again, because I've been through art school, I understand the composition rules. I don't know, a lot of photographers, they don't know the rules to break them. To start with, they don't know the rules. I mean, a lot of people don't know what is dynamic symmetry is. People struggle, they don't know how to create a grid in the space within the frame. So those kind of things people should learn, and then you can break them. And most of the great painters have used it. Most of the great architect has used this principle. A lot of cinematographers, follow this. So there is a reason why they do it, because it kind of creates a better composition. And I use those principles here to create the eye movement. So if you see, people are placed in such a way that it creates that eye movement. So it's all planned and staged.
Wonderful.
Can you hear? There's no problem with it, right?
Yeah.
No, it's your voice is perfect now.
Yeah. So again, Rin came. I mean, this brilliant art director who came to me and said, "Okay, I want to." There's this idea that if you use Rin, you will save at least a bucket of water, because it uses less water. So there's a brilliant copy, but so I haven't showed that as an ad here, unfortunately, because I don't have a good pool. So I have a photograph. So I've created this bucket or a glass kind of a feel with the hollow of well. And we had this entire village come.
What a brilliant concept.
Entire village to come there to fill the water. And it's all, coordinated and created. So again, 40-45 feet crane was used to shoot this image. And again, it became quite popular, picked up some awards. Mumbai Mirror is again, it's a similar, Paddy, who is again art director, who started coming to me to do photography. Like I used to go to Sopan, he started coming to me, and he's one of the best in India today. So he came to me and said, "Okay, I want to do a campaign for Mumbai Mirror." It's basically all these underworld people or thugs or eve teasers or, the bad guys basically of Bombay are hating Mumbai Mirror because they get exposed in Mumbai Mirror. That's the idea. So it's basically a reversal idea that you don't show your protagonist good guy. Normally, you always show them nice people. So they're hating you. It's a very interesting way of looking at advertising. So I got this prostitute, basically, like a mother of prostitutes, whatever they call them. So I got her, and I liked her character. I casted her and got this police van to hire, and she was not expressing. So I asked her, I taught her galis, and I said, scream loudly. And then say, Mother Chod, she started screaming. So I asked her to abuse me at least 30, 40 times, and with full anger. And all these girls are getting bored with this scream and shout, and that got naturally natural expression aa gaya piche. And this is the image I got. Again, this picked up award, Cannes and all that, I told you. Again, this guy, I had to tell him, start abusing me. So here, and to do the casting and, detailing is so important. That's why I said, I've learned from, you have to do the homework and you have to do the detailing. All these guys use 2 phones. They have 2 pens. They have 2 rings. It's always in between. I mean, I've seen all this. They always have this, what do you call that, double collar shirt? Accountants used to wear those shirt suits. I don't know what it's called.
Safari suit.
Huh?
Safari suit.
Safari suit. They always wear safari suit. And it's very strange. I mean, these guys, they have 2 chains, and it's very typical. So all those detailing, it's a very recognizable image as a bad guy. So I created that intentionally to have that. And then 2 phones have different colors. So it's very intentional. It's all kind of art directed to the T. And then we went and saw what time the train local comes and where he should stand so that we get nice round curve of him. So I got several pictures, but this, I think the expression was the best.
This gentleman is an artist, actor, or
it's artist. Yeah, it's artist. It's not a. He's not actual. This is a campaign.
Not an actual pickpocket.
He is a famous actor. He's from Pune. So he's an Eve teaser. So how do I show Eve teaser? And I don't have college permission. So we went to one building. We made some 2-3 kids hang around in the background, and I got the reflection. And the girl in that reflection, and he's holding that, clutching that mirror. I thought that will be an interesting, nice, symbolic. So he's actually clutching, trying to reach her, but clutching her with her left hand is the symbolic way I thought it will be. So these are the
these images. If you don't tell that this is a campaign,
it's difficult to make.
Some brilliant work of street photography as well.
Yes. That's why, in fact, I asked, are these actors?
No. So the what Sopan used to call, what is this? Created reality. So it's a manufactured reality. That is what I mean. Any director creates the manufactured reality. He's telling actor to look natural, right? So that's exactly what you're doing, but in a still photograph. In advertising, that's what you're doing in a still photograph.
But then I have a question here. So I have a thought actually in a way. Is that you have this style, distinct style, which almost is like street and reality kind of a style in your campaign as well, in these kinds of campaigns in particular.
Yeah.
And these are all posed and staged images. A lot of work, precision work has gone behind creating these images where somebody would stand.
Yeah.
And to the last detail.
Correct.
Now, when you go out in the street, everything is instantaneous.
Yeah.
Happening. And so, did you find it difficult to really adjust from staging and being very spontaneous?
No, so the thing is, whether you staged or in advertising, when you stage, we give them a lot of leeway to be in that zone, and I'm not taking photograph till they are ready to act. So we tell them not to look at the camera. The camera is not existing. You just go and behave like what you're doing, and then you get the natural instinct, and then you just have to anticipate and shoot. And you precisely get exactly the same amount of time that you get it on street. It's not a uniquely different. Because it's staged, that doesn't mean you can create a great photograph. You've seen very bad staged photograph, and you can keep seeing them in advertising every day. So doing a stage is very simple. I mean, it's not difficult. What is difficulty is to capture the moment which looks natural. I mean, that's the trick. It's very few people can understand that. I mean, in advertising or it's more difficult in the street, because in the photography, in movie, there is a good beginning and end, and you can always chop it and cut it and get to his eyes, get to his fingers, show some details and get the right expression. So in edit you can adjust that, but in still you have to capture the right moment. So you get you're exactly shooting street, even if you're directing, because if you don't capture the right moment, you're dead. I mean, it's not the right picture.
So basically, the mental preparation is
correct.
same.
But the advantage with the street, I mean, the staged, is that you get to shoot more than one picture, one image. And the street, you don't get chance. The moment is gone, then it's gone. You can't control. So I realize it's very important to do the riyaz in the street. You need to do the practice in the street of capturing the moment without missing them,
so that one can deliver better.
So when you're prepared when you faced with such situation. The second thing is, it's a good habit to build, to anticipate and see what is going to happen. That always works brilliantly, because I definitely know if the hand is coming closer, where I should click. So that anticipation is very important. I mean, when you're looking at the frame, somebody is coming from that side, some dog is appearing here, some birds are going to fly into your frame. So you're already anticipating what is happening. And then your capture is very important. So street actually helps you to do the riyaz, to do the practice of, and also it's a good art form. It's a good reliever to me.
I think this is something which, if I remember correctly, Swapan calls it manufactured reality. I call it stage street. It comes from street, but when you're doing a campaign, you're doing it in limited amount of time and with limited resources. You have to stage things.
Yeah.
Like Prashant is very rightly saying, if you've been watching what happens on the street, actually, all that information and experience you are collating and collecting in your mind, so that when you get to do this kind of work, in a way, it's already there in your mind to be able to create these images of how people stand, how they behave, how they interact, how does traffic flow.
Yeah.
It's almost a way of life,
The way of, you're constantly observing things, and that actually helps. And then what happens with this habit is that you start seeing things which normally people will not see.
Yeah.
So it becomes a very interesting way of looking at life, which you capture, and then suddenly, I was here, and how could I have never seen it? A lot of times when I sometimes went with the student photographers, they wanted to walk with me and all, and then I kind of see something quickly and I take the photograph, and then we share each other's photograph, and then say, I was there, sir, but I have never seen this. I said, this is the habit you need to build. So a lot of people, you need to build that habit of seeing things. Is that what I think I've learned at Hamara Bajaj and later in life, and working with all these greats, Swapan, Raghurai sir, all these guys. I mean, even in the studio, you need to know when you're, why portrait artists are even a very few great portrait artists, because you look at the portrait and what is his character, what does he stands for, his expression and his pose and his posture and the light on him. So why portrait, certain guys' portrait are brilliant and other portrait doesn't look that great. They look like shot on a roadside street. So that's the difference. I mean, the anticipation, understanding human behavior, looking at people constantly and seeing, you need to click it with your eyes. It's basically, that's what it is. You are taking it 24 frames per second and you are constantly taking it. So that habit you need to create in your head. And once you start seeing closely, then you know what not to be kept in the frame. You remove stuff which is not important. This again, so I'll call it as an assignment, because somebody came to me and said, okay, let's do a series of portraits on survivors of 26/11. This is a Bombay attack. And they kind of created a list, and they called up all these people, and they used to give me 10 minutes notice or half an hour notice sometimes to go quickly take the shot and come back, because this is the time they have. So I used to run like a photojournalist, carry my camera bag, go to their house, use existing light, shoot and come back. And I never use flash or anything. We just say, okay, let's run with whatever we get. We'll just work out a shot. So this is like a photojournalism training for me. And yeah, so this is a shot I've taken. I mean, this woman has a bullet on her backside, and they are not removed that bullet in her spine, because if they remove it, she will become handicapped. She will lose her legs. So she's still surviving with the bullet in her body. Shell of a bullet. So it's like a steel in the body, basically. This guy, the bullet whizzed past his ears. So he sells some glass stuff outside the Met. So I shot him in the glass. So I just used their stories and created and I used my hand to kind of get reflection. And it's a very old technique. There's nothing great I'm talking. I mean, you guys are much better at that. But, you know, to get that immediacy and urgency and the flurry of movement, you know, people are blurred. So I intentionally shot slow shutter. I asked him to stay still, things like that. This guy caught Kasab, and from the behind, and Ubale got killed. So he shot him from behind, his other partner who got Ubale. So basically they nabbed him, and I rode with him in Bombay. So he showed me the entire journey. I sat behind him and he was giving me running commentary, how they chased him, where they stopped, and how they caught them at the Chowpatty. This is Leopold Cafe. This guy saved thousands of people's life because he announced, don't enter VT, there's a gun shot for him. And he constantly kept announcing. A lot of people didn't enter the VT station. And he's traumatic now. He stays somewhere in Kalyan. He does a desk job. And I asked him to come to the platform so that I can take his portrait. So he reluctantly came, and suddenly one dog came and sat next to him. So it's a luck that, and as the train passing, I took the shot.
Fantastic.
This again, kid survived. He's got a bullet in his hand. There's a big hole in his hand. I didn't want to show ugly stuff, but I said, let's go at Chowpatty. And then I saw these 3 birds circling him strangely. So I got this shot. Colgate came to me and said, I used to work on Colgate, and then now the marketing team knows that I do photography. He said, Arey, you do these candid shots for us. You choose the model, you choose the everything. You give us the candid shots and we'll pay all the people who are his. So the idea was, what keeps India smiling? That was the question. And write a story, a small story. So I wrote some small story on each photograph. And I just roam around, click photographs of people where I can get a beautiful smile, and paid them immediately $1,000, $2,000 to, or $10,000. Some guys asked for that, and did this campaign. There are like 30 images I did. I'm showing you a few. This is a Worli village. This guy was carrying, and I took his photograph and I paid him, and he was so happy that. So this is a roadside campaign I did with the, again, principle of dynamic symmetry. I mean, a lot of people don't know. So if you want, I can give a good lecture on dynamic symmetry one day. Again, this is a girl used to work in our office, and this is she was sitting and having coffee when it was raining. So I went out and I saw a reflection. I went in, got the camera and took the shot and paid her. She was happy, hopefully. I saw this kid playing with a cat. This is my Gurkha's kid, and they have 2-3 cats, and I took this shot. And he was also happy. Suddenly, he got 10,000. He said, "Sir, kya ho gaya?" So that he, you know, so he was quite thrilled with the. I went on the village side and I saw these kids having fun. So I had to meet their parents and give them money. I went to the school. They had this. So there also, it's a charity run school. So again, I paid it to school and the kids. So they were quite happy with that. So, I mean, if you get this kind of assignment, it's always nice to work with the kids who needs money, and they're doing, I mean, it's a photograph basically, they're having fun. But again, it's nice small things from the company's point of view. Puncture kadun miळेल, it's in Marathi. It's basically, we will fix the puncture here, is the sign. They put it on the roadside in Bombay Pune Road. So I saw this funny situation and I took a picture. And Samsung came to me. They saw the Apple campaign and they said we should do something like this. And they said we have a low light, better capacity. I mean, we can shoot in a low light better than Apple. So shoot some campaign. They given me phone and all. So I did this photography for them. They never ran because I think Apple, that CEO said, why you're doing the same campaign? But they paid me, thankfully. And I went to different parts of the city and shot this. So PN Gadge was a very interesting small client, and they have been around for 153 years, more than that. And they wanted to do a corporate campaign. So they approached me and I did this film.
चूल आणि मूल हेच स्त्रीचं विश्व. काय करायचंय शिकून? पुढे मुलंच वाढवायची आहेत ना.
घरंदाज बायका नाटकात काम करत नसतात. असं बाहेर चार चौघात मोर्चे काढत फिरणं शोभतं का?
लग्नाचं वय झालंय, अजून किती शिकायचंय तुला?
रात्री अपरात्री घराबाहेर पडायचं.
कशाला पाहिजे ही नोकरी? सणासुदीला तरी वेळेवर घरी यायला शिका. हे असले कपडे. जाऊ दे, मी काही बोलतच नाही ना. तुम्ही बदललात, पण तुमची निवड मात्र तीच. पुन्हा गाडगीळ आणि सन्स, नातं विश्वासाचं. 1832 पासून.
So from 1832, how the women has changed, but one thing that hasn't changed is a PN Gadge, and they've been buying jewelry from. So it's a very old Pune-based jeweler, very famous in Pune. Basically, I shown the transition seamlessly. I wanted to show because it has to move, and every time the music has changed. If you have noticed, it used to be old instrumental to folk to completely organic, and I mean completely synthetic. And so the transition of women started working this in a freedom struggle. They used to give their ornaments to the freedom struggle so that people will get food. So we have kind of plotted the interesting events in women's life and how they have progressed. And one thing that hasn't changed is that's the basic idea. And the good thing about that film is that we got to do the detailing of the historical to the today. So all the old lamps to, in 70s, what kind of costume they used to wear, in 80s, so that was a great learning. And I mean, if you see our PPT doc is like 300 pages, and each and every, what kind of phone. So, I mean, you will not notice it at this speed, but if you stop and freeze, everything was detailed and done to the T. So that's the kind of art direction was done. It was a fun. It's like a 1 month, 2 months project, which really enjoyed working on it. And this is a simple photographic assignment I did for them. He said, go green this Ganpati because all this Bombay really ruins the sea. So I've created this flower Ganpati as an idea. It's my brother's idea. And he said, will you shoot? I said, okay. So we got this girl called Shubha, who is a very good illustrator. She said, I'll try my hand. And my brother also said, I'll also try. So we kind of sat together and created this. Every day we used to change the Ganpati, and it viral hell of a lot in Bombay because people removed the logo and headline and they started sharing the stuff, and millions of guys shared these Ganpatis. Basically, we created this campaign like a good public service for PN Gadge, saying, don't pollute the water. So these are like 12 Ganpatis we made with different flowers. That means
So beautifully done, absolutely.
yeah. So it's basically you can see God everywhere is what. It's as simple as that, and you don't need to create these big idols and pollute the sea and your rivers or lakes. So it's all different flowers. It looks like a wow, created a pure form of Ganpati. Simple, just kept the flower on the thing. You just added 2 leaves, off you go. So you created them 20, 30. So 12 they've selected, and every day we used to post on their net, and people really shared it like crazy. And PepsiCo is again this art director from Sachi called Komal, brilliant art director. She's again won many awards in the world. She came to me and said, I like your photography style. Will you direct the film? I said, this is a different ball game. She said, no, direct, because you just see it as if you're taking the still photographs. I mean, just plan it like that. So we did this, and I got the same guy who wrote the jingle for Bajaj. I asked him to write some words for me. So this is the film. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? Right? I think it's not playing on a large screen.
लगन है कर्म है धर्म है पांचों बजरंग हर सांस में आस है पसीने की प्यास है आधी तूफान या टूटे आसमान रगों ने तेरी न सीखी थकान रात में सूरज उगाता दिन की उम्र बढ़ाता कभी शिष्य कभी गुरु ज्ञान का बीज तू गणित का बीज तू कभी न करे प्रश्न जो जिंदगी का जश्न तू दाता है तू अन्नदाता पुरुषों में पुरुषोत्तम तू सावन सा पावन जीवन का सच्चा होली करुणा की बोली हरियाली की रंगोली कलाकार है सच्चा तू दाता है तू अन्नदाता पुरुषों में पुरुषोत्तम तू पेप्सिको गर्व है कि वह अनेक कृषि उपायों द्वारा जुड़ा है किसानों के साथ आखिर हर किसान हमारा अभिमान पेप्सिको आवाज मिट्टी की
This campaign is brilliant cinematography by Tasadduk Hussain, one of the best in India. He's from Kashmir and brother of the son of Mufti, I think. It was brilliant. So we had a great time shooting this, and they liked it so much. They got some 15, 16 million hits on Facebook.
Wow.
PepsiCo, the CEO loved it. So they asked to do the work for Egypt and Bangkok, Thailand. And we did those 2 films. I'm still finishing. Thanks to COVID, we stopped. But apparently they want it for more countries in future. And last, because I know I should not push this, but these films shows all the ads that all the photographs I've taken. So that kind of sums it up what I am.
Who are we? We are what we remember. We are our memories. What makes the memories that make us? Touch makes the memories. The tongue, the nose. There's the mind, the greatest storyteller. Full of memories, we need reality. But memory fades fast. How do we hold on to what makes us? Man says, see all the lives you've lived in this life. Photographs endure. It's a ticket back to a moment gone by. Find a tool that helps you remember. The camera is a time machine. So take pictures with your mind. Make yourself with your photographs. So you can be whole. No missing pieces.
So the idea was to show them fast moving, and I know Fauzan and you guys have trouble with this. The thing was,
Anand and I were very upset that, why this chance work been shown at such high speed.
yeah, the fleeting moment, the life is going so fast in front of you. And that's what it represented. It's actually, it's not that the idea is to showcase the photograph. It's the idea that the copy is very critical here, that the life is too short and we are what we hold on to. Otherwise, if you miss, it's gone. And what you can hold on to is photograph, and that's why you need machine that helps you. I mean, that's the sailing part of it. But the thing is that it's going so fast, and people should, worry why it's going so fast. I mean, that was the idea. And if it is disturbed, then that's a good thing. so I think, so that I thought was the. So any questions? And my presentation looks like over.
Thank you, Prashant.
Absolutely fantastic.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Okay.
You can stop share, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there are a couple of questions on YouTube. One is by Namrata right now. So Namrata Vedi is there. So she's asking, what kind of researching and thought process goes behind all these campaigns that you do, and before shooting, so to say, and how did you approach them, and what is your initial pre-shooting kind of approach?
Yeah, so we do a lot of research. I mean, there are mood boards done. We also see what kind of work is done in this category. Are we copying anybody? We should stay away from the copying. We should stay away from what has happened. It has to be unique and different. The idea that you have, are we showcasing interestingly, or is it boring? So, I mean, there's a lot of thinking happens, a lot of research happens sometimes. We go with the finished film to the people and say, does it really work with you? So, in advertising, it's a lot of hard work happens. PN Gadgil took me 3 months to do the entire detailing. PepsiCo, I have taken 1 month to do the detailing because I went to the location 20 times, composed the frame so that whenever we are shooting, because we get only 1 or 2 days to shoot because the crew is very expensive. I mean, on the set, sometimes there are 100 people, you're feeding them, you're paying them their fees. So you have to be absolutely sure. You have to be absolutely sure about weather, and your planning has to be immaculate so that no glitches happens. Otherwise, you end up shooting on a third day. That means each day costs you a bomb. So the moment you go on a third day, it becomes very expensive. So like any feature film, they do plan for years. In advertising film, they plan for months. You need to really make sure, rehearse 20 times, go there, plan your shoot, and still you can go wrong. So you have to do a lot of research.
That's a good answer, sir. And another question from her is that you do sketching as well. So
sorry,
you do sketching as well?
Yeah, I do.
And so how do you connect your artwork with photography?
No, so
hand in hand.
I started with when I was in college. My ultimate aim was to become an illustrator. I wanted to draw. That's it. For 5 years, and I used to sketch for 8 hours in a day, every day. So that I practiced it so much, and that's the reason maybe I must have come first in college, because I did good drawing that last day, which is very important as an exam day. It's not that I was talented, but because it's just the practice of doing things right. And the moment I became like an art director, visualizer, I realized sketching is not the greatest thing on the planet. I mean, in advertising, you need to have an ideas, and you need to get the work done from different departments. So it's not just the sketching that you're good at. but you have to come up with ideas. You have to, so for my first 3-4 years went into, learning how to come up with idea, studying what other people have done right, why certain campaign gets awards and why that's so beautiful. So you have to study all that. So my 3-4 years just learning what I used to do. I mean, sketching, I left for 5 years and I stopped sketching because I realized you need to learn so many things. As I told you in the beginning, I didn't know anything about makeup and hair and, costumes.
That's the best story, actually.
That's a wonderful.
That's the best story, I think, about learning makeup on the job.
I had no clue. I had no clue about anything. You come straight from last year in Bombay. You're living in a mid-town called Aurangabad. Your exposure is zero. Your ultimate aim is, you need to draw some illustration to the story and sign underneath. And if it gets printed, then you are like, you achieved everything in life. That was the idea. And then suddenly, thanks to I coming first, I got several opportunities. I mean, the whole world opened up and said, you are now a good art director. And I had no clue what art direction is. So it just, landed on my lap and I didn't know where to look. So, I mean, I slowly learned and I kind of found my way. But I realized telling the truth, saying, I don't know anything, I'm trying to learn, and everybody helps you. I mean, that's the best approach I've.
Absolutely.
Even Mohammed sometimes used to scream and say, what the fuck you done? But, and I used to say, I don't know. I mean, sorry, I am not exposed to such things. If the cigarette is kept other way around, he used to scream. I mean, have you ever seen people smoking? And then once I kept cigarette on the left hand, have you seen guys smoking? Do you think the entire world is left-handed? They will pick up the cigarette with the left hand. So it's basically the observation is also he taught us. It's basically you need to, and if you're not exposed, you will not know. As simple as that. So it's better to tell the truth, saying, sorry, I don't know anything. Please teach me, and I'm willing to learn. So that dedication I tried to show wherever it's possible.
I just want to add something here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of young photographers, who are watching this. There's this whole state of confusion with this, digital and what used to be film and all that. But, something which I've always very believed in, Prashant, you so strongly represent that, to be a good photographer, don't waste your time in photography schools, Go to an art school, go to a design school, go to arts, go do philosophy, go do painting or something, because your sensibilities are going to come from there. Because today, the mechanics of making a picture have simplified. You don't need to do too much of drama around it. But, what you're seeing, and, another observation, Prashant, about your work over so many years, is when first time we met in Goa, and that brilliant picture of yours where that horse is kicking in the air, and you had, we all know that image. What a lot of people do photo essays. You are like a total anti-photo essay representative. You do images. There's all the essays within that one image. And I think that is just such a brilliant way how you actually tell a story. A lot of times you're like practicing. Okay, I'll get 3 pictures and I'll make a story and then I'll talk a philosophy around it. In your stuff, it's just one image. It's got everything, and you don't even have to speak about it. And I think that's the most powerful thing. And I think your background of coming from art background has really made, and I don't mean just composition, I mean the sensibility, the way you create stories within stories, and that's I'm a big fan of that.
Thanks.
So it's the sensibility, it's the anticipation, it's the observation. It's, like Prashant has said, and I've heard him for the 3rd time saying that, and it just stuck in my mind, is that you just keep second and keep storing them. It's just something which then becomes a part of your life, and keeps coming out in your work, whether they're still photographs that you're doing for yourself, or whether they're campaigns that you're doing for your brands. It is so much to do with observation.
Also, what Samar is saying is right. I mean, photography school is, technical stuff you will learn today in like 2 days. If you understand exposure triangle, you understood camera inside out. And rest is, you can just keep changing the buttons here and there. the most important thing is that you need to understand the art, understand the philosophy of art. Why Picasso is famous, you need to understand. It's not just, because he's trying some cubicle rubbish, or why, Matisse is great. If you don't understand and how they approach the life and how uniqueness they brought into their style, if you don't understand their thinking. So, I always used to tell, and actually heard from my boss, Arun, he said, you need to become a thinking person. Everything else is technical. You are the controller. The rest can be manageable. Just imagine you are on a driving seat. You have to run the life of people. And that's the role of art director. And if you don't think, if you don't apply your brain, you are going to fail. It's as simple as that. So you need to thinking photographer. Very few photographers I've seen who can think. Your work, Samar. There's a thought in every project you do. So that thinking photographer is very few today. They're just shooting without any objective in their head. At least photojournalists are taught to be a thinking photographer because they have to apply story to it. But commercial photographers, you will say the art director shows reference, he tries to copy that. And that's the end of story. I took this mood board and I said, don't copy, I don't want. Otherwise, why will I come to you? I can do that better. You need to put in your head and say, how can you make this image different? And that actually makes it better. And once you challenge and they put in their 100%, I work with Tejal and Prasad. They do on and off great work. But whenever they've done great, somebody has really pushed them hard to do unique and different. And that's what makes so you need to either put that sword on your neck and say, I need to do something different all the time. Then only you can do something different. Otherwise, chalta hai becomes very easy and you adopt it so fast, it's not funny.
Absolutely. This is, I think, mostly we talk about stock images. Wahan wahi garbadi hai. Mujhe lagta hai that's how the quality has gone down, because producing more images is the main task there, and more than the quality of the image. That is.
Yeah, very well said, sir. I just thought came into my mind that you just mentioned that creating more images might probably bring down the quality because you have to continue thinking, and at times, as an individual, you can't be thinking unique every time. And I think social media, and particularly when we talk about Instagram, something like Instagram, that every day something new has to come, something unique has to come to continue showing your presence out there. You have to continue creating new images. Otherwise, when you start sharing old images, then your follower base and your popularity starts going down. So I'm not talking from gaining popularity, but I'm trying to talk about something unique that I have kind of experienced looking at your sharing that you do on Instagram and Facebook, that though you do it every day, there is still uniqueness coming in every image that you are creating. And so my thought is, question.
Also, what happens is, if you're slightly popular, people just like it just because you're popular. There's no fucking reason why a bad photograph should be liked in any case.
Prashant,
And
Prashant, you can't get away with that.
I will not.
No, sir, I'm not going to let him get away with that. Because
and I've seen it many, all these biggest Instagrammer, and I experiment this because I'm suggesting these platforms to my client. And I study them intentionally because now that is going to be the new medium for advertising agencies and all the advertisers, and how the behavior happens with the people. And I saw them. I'm not taking name, but some great photographers who've got 3 to 4 lakh followers, and they're rubbish. They get 10,000 and 25,000 likes. That doesn't mean they're good. So you need to understand. And these are the experiments. Sometimes I put my brother's photograph and we just watch. He says, just see how people look. And you put it on your fucking Instagram and see what happens. So suddenly I have some 800 likes within 10 minutes and he's got 5. sometimes, it's like you go to Mandir, and if the Babaji tells you a nice story, you start to tend to believe him rather than, the guy who's actually telling you the right story. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's also that. So you should take it with a pinch of salt. Good images are good images. Whether
So, Prashant, I'd like to add something here. Again, this is for young audience because, they are really the key people. The state of confusion with whether it's technology or whether it's social media platforms. I think the biggest observation is this, that if your images are right, that is what is going to last, because the problem is that, is that there's such a huge bombardment that you might have 25,000 likes on that picture, but unfortunately next day nobody remembers what that image is, right?
Correct.
So I think, what really will stand time finally is going to be what is your imagery. Secondary is technology. Secondary is your social media likes, blah, blah, whatever it is. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused that, oh, I've got so many likes, but likes is not going to get you necessarily the right kind of seriousness to your work.
I mean, there are great photographers in India, right? I mean, not everybody is on the Instagram, and people still worship them because they're great. I mean, their one image is fucking, stuck here so brilliantly that you don't want to, look at another 10,000 images. I mean, that's the beauty of power of the great image. These days you need to be in touch, top of the mind. I mean, this is all advertising principles, right? If I bombard you, you tend to remember me more. And if I post every day, for example, as a commercial photographer, and I'm good, I'm decent, the tendency of art directors seeing my photograph more because they're following me or they're liking me. So next campaign comes, first thing they will think of is my name. That's the advertising principle. If I hammer 20 times Rin campaign, I mean, the first name that will come to is Dukan mein Rin de do. So I mean, it's as simple as that. So you need to understand the importance of social media, but don't get flown or overwhelmed by it, saying, I got 20,000 likes. That doesn't mean anything. Or I got 10 likes. It could be great because those 10 quality likes is more important. I mean, when you say, or Mr. Likes my photograph, then I say, "Acha, kuch to अच्छे लोग like कर रहे हैं, otherwise सब बच्चे लोग धपाधप like कर रहे हैं, उसको कोई मतलब नहीं है."
Yeah.
So can I ask you something that now we are speaking about, young photographers, being here, that now millions of pictures taken by photographers all over the world. There has bound to be thousands of accidental great pictures, right? So in advertising में ऐसा देखा जाता है कि first there's a briefing and then there's sketching, then there is this manufactured spontaneity that you so skillfully, finally bring it to images. इसकी reverse हो सकता है कि suppose something like this young, suppose a brand publishes a theme and new photographers can submit those images against that theme.
So that is happening. That is happening. See, for example, what Apple is doing is they are looking at the great image and say, we'll buy this image and we'll run it as a hoarding, and whatever your fees we'll pay.
That's
so accidentally, great photograph is now going to be a new way of finding younger and better photographer. What is going to happen is everybody can take fluke accidentally great photograph.
Yes.
Everybody. I mean, I included. We accidentally take good photograph once in a while, and then we try it 300 times and we still don't get that great photograph again and again in our life. So that is the part, and that now companies and advertisers have realizing it, and they are looking out for these one-offs which are great.
And I think that would bring a lot of hope to a lot of photographers, including India, abroad, everywhere. I mean, a big hope to everyone, because otherwise people are feeling hopeless. Kya hoga? What we'll do with that? Thousands and thousands of pictures we are doing, and some of them are really, really good, and they don't know how to go about it. So can brands, really take over? I'm very happy to know that.
So the best way is to, share. I mean, if you hide, nobody will know. If you're famous and hidden, it's fine. Like Sopan can hide on Instagram and say, I don't want to post anything on Instagram. This is fine. I mean, this is known. People have seen his work. They have seen his advertising work. Some of them have seen his, personal work. So people will, still go to him. But the young guy who hasn't have any exposure, what exposure he has got, either he has to say nice thing to Dinesh sir, nice thing to some other, and sir, will you look at my portfolio, say something nice to me? They'll keep tagging you and they say, okay, do you like my picture? I mean, people try their best to approach through one technique. The other is just to share. If you're good, you will shine. As simple as that. I mean, there's no
possibility that we can go ahead with natural spontaneity to brand messaging.
Yeah.
This is a great hope. I'm very happy to really know that, and I'll be able to share it.
No, I mean, advertiser. I mean, today the marketers, advertiser, and everybody is looking at these new avenues. They don't want old foggies like us. They want younger people who will do good work and cheap, and
No. So there, you second word that you said is probably they are looking at. So
so the thing is, basic understanding is there. They are marketing ads. They know what is right. I mean, at least they pretend they know what's right. Some guys really know what they want. So they are looking for such things. The internet and digital media is going to be the future, whether you like it or not. Your big double spread ads. So I have studied, because your phone is this much, your thumbnail is even smaller when you're looking at the thumbnail on Instagram. You have to create images which will look better in that size.
Absolutely.
So now that's become art. So you need to work for those restrictions. First you need to get the attention, right? If nobody looks at your photograph, it could be extremely complicated with thousands of layers and beautiful, but if it is not visible in that thumbnail, nobody is going to look at you. So you need to reverse think it. That's what I'm saying. You need to be a thinking photographer in every direction. It's not just the size. I mean, the size, yeah. So.
Sir, one more very small question, because I have been a student for a very long time, virtually. So for me, it is very important. In one of your recent sessions on some platform, you have narrated a wonderful story about your first out-of-college experience and being asked to work out half of 13, and how that had finally shaped up your mental frame of think different. So it was fascinating. So I would love to hear how you identify a young talent, and did you work out a task to teach them how to think differently yourself? Because I'm one of your students, as I've said, would love to take that task someday to test myself.
Lovely question, Maushami. Thanks for asking it.
I thought that I was hoping that somebody will ask that question.
I'm very curious because मुझे जाना है Mumbai and प्रशांत जी से मिलना है और मुझे वहाँ बैठना है. I want to really.
I mean, this is like a fun experiment you need to do when you're teaching. I mean, I kind of learned this because if you want to keep people engrossed and listen to the stories, and people love to listen to the stories, and especially failed stories. And once you tell the failed stories, and the attention goes up, and they kind of realize, here, hey, he's like me. I mean, that is also a technique. So you need to. That's one of those techniques, and I skipped all the techniques that added in the between. Because I thought this is not the right forum to, I give them exercises in the middle to think out of the box. So you give them problem and just wait and make fun of them. So that's a great fun. So it's kind of a interesting way of, and they get completely involved and they kind of interact nicely. But, beyond the point, everybody has to learn on their own.
Absolutely.
It's a lonely way of learning. I mean, no.
Start करना बहुत सही note पे. I think
it's just you're encouraging them. You're saying nice work done.
Yes.
That doesn't mean he's nice. It will take 40 years to become nice, and I still know. You have to do riyaz for 30-40 years, then you start getting some correct way of looking at life. Yeah.
They say it takes 40 years to become.
Eggleston said, I mean, there's a famous, he said, if I take 10 great photographs in my life, I'll die happily. Now, Eggleston's work, have you seen? I mean, it's amazing.
That's right.
So, I mean, if he's saying, I just need to create 10 great original photographs, look at what are we talking about? You'll need some 2-3 lifetimes to do that kind of work.
Yes.
So,
okay, one thing I've learned here, Prashant, and you need to help me here. I'm going to route all my good pictures through your Instagram account. Like karega, yaar.
I don't have major
Good
followers.
plan.
I was just doing experiment with the people. See, the thing is, you are learning the medium, and then you need to fool the medium.
Yes.
How will you learn? So you need to understand where the reality lies. I mean, that was the exercise. I mean, and brother has taken really nice photograph. It's not that, because like you said, anybody can take a nice photograph on a mobile. Suddenly he sees something and he takes it. The trick is to do consistently great photographer. Then it becomes a great photographer. A great writer will do consistently novel after novel better. One fluke novel is not going to make him great writer.
Sir, my greediness is making me request you something. Can you share 3, 4, 5 of your favorite sweet images?
I thought it's all there.
I'm a little greedy, so I really can't.
I don't know. I mean, like he said, that horse, that was a surprise to me.
Horse, I would like to listen to the story as well. So I'm sure there must be some story.
Let me just share
How
this.
did you happen to click it? And
I thought I'll take more than at this rate. Yesterday's record I'm going to break.
Wow, this is amazing. Yeah. I love this one.
Wow.
I know.
Where is that horse?
Horse is the ultimate. I still remember it was displayed in an open field in Goa in Serendipity photography.
Yeah, I think Dinesh sir only selected that
Yes,
photograph.
yes. And then I spent, I don't know how many hours just being around and looking at it. It's beautiful. I mean,
Which one?
with
A horse image.
Horse.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I haven't put it there.
कितनी बार मैंने ऐसे भी हुआ कि जहाँ बहुत horses दिखाई देती हैं, I go and wait for some time कि कोई घोड़ा पीछे से पैर मारे तो मैं कुछ लूँ. But it never happens. You cannot even copy Prashant sir. That's the biggest tragedy in a way.
Copy तो मैं भी बहुत सारे लोगों को कर लेता हूँ. That's how you learn, by the way. I mean, I'm a firm believer that you need to understand, then move forward, understand and move forward. So you need to experiment in that space, and that's how everybody learns from childhood to
I think that is also in music. Music, maybe हम कई बार ना, while learning music, we always get inspired and try and emulate those artists we admire. And finally, we find out.
I like this image,
Yeah.
I even like this, this composition happened naturally. And I like the before after also. The same guy came from, so I waited. So this is how I think of stories immediately. This guy, it's exactly the same. The guy goes off and comes back again, and he was having different exercise as he was going along. So that was nice. I like this because it's kind of accidentally created a yoga pose by Crow.
Wow.
That's what really makes it. I mean, that's so. Yeah. But that's the anticipation. That's the.
I love this one. Oh,
Yeah.
This is so amazing.
this is amazing.
It's so brilliant.
Tree of life almost, kind of, it gives you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the horse picture is not here, by the way. In this presentation. Well, maybe this was created before, so.
आपकी sketches में मैं कई बार birds बहुत देखते हैं. I think birds takes a huge.
My sketches are interesting. Yeah, I like to do this. Again in sketching also I don't do straightforward sketching.
I know, but how come bird? I mean, उसकी क्या significance है? Yeah, I get to see a lot of bird in your, in your creativity. I mean, wings and birds and
again,
stuff.
No. So again, that is also learning. I kind of learned thanks to F-Stop. This guy said, if you write about it something, I mean, I started doing that consciously about the picture, and doesn't have to be the same. We can go on tangent. It kind of gets better traction. That's what I said. So I'm experimenting with that. I'm not, firm advocator. I mean, I'm learning as you are learning. So if people say this is works, I said, okay, let's try that, and I try that. So there's nothing.
Prashant, no, I think Maushmi wasn't asking about words. She's asking about the birds.
Birds.
Oh, I heard words.
Am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Oh, you are.
No, I kind of.
अच्छा,
I'm not.
क्योंकि आप मुझे दिखाई देते
Birds in flight are like the clincher in a lot of your street photographs. I mean, they're
So
almost as far as I'm concerned is what
I drawn a cartoon of Sopan bird on his head. So when I used to do work with him as a, he used to do all my campaigns. So he used to wait for the birds to come in the frame. I said that this perfect situation. Yaar, kar le shoot. No, bird aa raha, so I got into the habit. Now he hates birds because he's done so many times. So I understand he's moving up in life, and we are still there.
So आपकी sketches में birds, आपकी sketches में काफी birds होती हैं कई बार
I like nature, and that actually makes the picture much more livelier. If you see, it becomes colder. If there is no, I mean, you can make great pictures without any people, without any. I mean, it's like then doing landscape or very static, still, and try and find meaning in it. And that's a slightly advanced way of looking at life. I'm still 30 years behind. Still go with the bird.
No, I'm talking about your drawings. In your drawings, I get to see a lot of birds. Your subject is always mostly, that's whatever little I have seen through, Instagram and everything. It's mostly bird. And I love them. I mean, they're so beautiful. So does it have any connotation with your something, something?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Prashant, the last picture, the tree reflection, was it created or was it naturally sitting there? They were sitting in that.
Which picture, sorry?
The last picture of the tree reflection with the children sitting with the slate boards and all that.
The tree of life with the children, the shadow of the tree.
The shadow of the tree?
Uh-huh.
Was it a created image?
No. It was natural.
It was natural.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I went to Hyderabad to shoot for Cry. So Cry asked me to, come along, and again, charity, I do a lot of these NGOs who wants to do. I mean, they hear it from somewhere. He's a good photographer, and I also get a chance to kind of roam around. So because they give me travel, so I take it. So I was going to Hyderabad. We went to see, and they have this inspector who inspecting the, schools, what progress they're doing. So there's this one school in Hyderabad where they didn't have there's only one hall, which is taken by senior students, and the rest of the kids were studying outside in the sun. And obviously this class was under this tree. So they were sitting in the shadow because the sun was like 40 degrees in the Hyderabad there. It was blistering. So I hid myself in the shadow of the tree. Big bark. So I hid, then I went hand like this and took that shot. And it looks like a orange tree. I mean, the way you look at it, actually, it's like they are chasing the shadow, basically.
But it's an amazing shot.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful journey. I mean, so inspiring. Especially, I'm advertising se nahi hu. I'm just a photographer, and this is such a learning experience for me to just listening.
We're all learning. We're all learning.
Absolutely.
So don't call myself photographer because, I mean, Samar and Fauzan and all, they spend their entire life, doing photography and doing different things. And they're thinking constantly 24/7 photography. I've been, part of my life is towards photography. Now I'm getting slowly closer to their race. So it'll take me some 3, 4, 5 years to call myself.
I have a question. Actually an observation or a question, Prashant. You came into advertising as an art director, and Dinesh also is, from the same time running an agency, running enterprise here in Delhi. Typical thing used to be that the art director would arrive with that, dog-eared black book. And black book, because there was no internet, there was no reference, and the economy was so closed here, so we didn't even know much about. There were very limited products. Must be quite different for you, because conventionally, when I used to do advertising work in Bombay, I remember, every agency, every other table, there'll be just that one black book which is going from table to table, whoever shoot you're going for. And what really amazes me is that, you somebody who decided to throw that book back at whatever at the agency and said, I'm going to go find my own way, and that is whatever you've spoken so far, you just like so conscious you were. And also our directors who were working with you, your colleagues, or let's say in those times, they, most of them came from art schools.
Yeah.
So it wasn't they were coming from,
No,
a different space. But it was quite amazing that how you, I don't know, were you very conscious about it?
No. So any referencing is good for as a mood board. You find some good lighting there, some good tabletop. But the moment you start copying, then it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And that is what started happening very badly. And because it was shown to the client, they made a rough comprehensive with the same thing. And client wants exactly like this. So
exactly. That was the worst part. Once you've shown it to the client, then the client is like, I want that. What are you doing?
The practice in London and some great agencies around the world, they don't show the mood board. They just show the drawing like your, sketches.
Like sketch. Yeah.
Sketch. So their presentation to the client is in a sketch form. And once they approve the sketch, then they get into the mood board saying, okay, we'll use this kind of lighting, we'll use this kind of tabletop, because then you're referencing it to make your product quality better. What is happening was, people started referencing it and copying it. Then Vogue became for the fashion photographers and all those Elle International magazine. They're blatantly copying. Mohammed used to say, just copy, fuck it. Black book. He got caught also 2-3 times. But the thing is that... so,
that was hilarious.
But like, if you can better it. If you can't, might as well copy it.
Copy it.
But I think, it's up to you. It's basically you should look at it as a sketches. That's how you should think. That's the good old training where you think in sketch. You just write down the visuals. The guy coming towards you. It's basically screenplay you have to write in your head, and then draw it with the storyboard artist and say, this is what I'm going to do. That's what I did with the Pamalu. I just drawn things. I said, we'll shoot in sessions because that's the blue sky. And he agreed. So it's the moment you have that power of sketch and the convincing power to put the money on the table, that's what you require. Rest is fine.
Okay, guys, I need to leave for home now.
Yep.
It's already.
You stop asking questions, then I'll go home. You're allowed to go home.
But if I can say my thank you to Prashant for one particular thing, I have really admired his work for what he does commercially. And having been in the commercial side of photography and on the personal side for the last 30 odd years myself, I have come across too many instances where people who do commercial photography are kind of looked down upon. But Prashant, as far as I'm concerned, is such a stellar example about how if you use your brain, if you use your imagination, it's not a question of, are you doing this for someone? You're still doing it for yourself. He brings, as far as I'm concerned, respectability to commercial photography, to application of photography, in a way that a lot of people who think very highly of themselves, because they do documentary work and they do, change the world and save the world kind of work. And so thank you, Prashant, for agreeing to come on. And thank you so much for using your commercial work as your example for showing that it's still about your brain, it's still about your sensitivity, and it's not about anything else.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that. And I hope people who've been watching this program will understand that at the end of the day, it's just not only about who's paying you and who's giving you an assignment, or, are you doing this because it's your personal skill? It's none of that. It's use your imagination, use your sensitivity, and that's what makes a great photographer. And that's what Prashant is. And I actually, in his case, I don't even call him a photographer. I call him a communicator, because he encompasses a lot of sensorial, experiences, whether it's sound, whether it's music, whether it's the visual, whether it's the story, and which is what makes him, to my mind, really a great communicator. So thank you, Prashant.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is so true.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You guys.
Thanks, Prashant. That was just excellent, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's quite a moment. And can we take a couple of questions? There are some interesting questions on YouTube.
Okay.
Can we? Do we have time?
I have time, but Fauzan wanted to go early.
Yeah, so
I mean, whoever wants to go, we can. I'm just saying.
So there are some very interesting questions that come. So one is from Parag Varelkar. He's saying that what would be the best way to learn about the principles of dynamic symmetry?
You should just Google it. There is a fantastic.
Good one.
No, so it's.
But you've offered a workshop, Prashant. I want to enroll for that.
Yeah.
I have already said that to Prashant ji. I'm coming to Mumbai, wherever you are.
So there is a very good. He's an architect. He's done a 1.5 hour lecture on dynamic symmetry. He talked about sculptures and architecture. But if you apply that principle in your photography, your compositions will improve tenfold.
Wow.
So, I mean, Picasso used to apply, most of the painters have applied dynamic symmetry as a rule to do the compositions. So rule of third and all has actually evolved. I mean, has the small part of that whole gamut of doing the grid and how eye moves and what kind of lines you should have in composition that kind of lead you into the different spaces. And that lecture is very good. If you want, I can send you a link, Jesse, and you can.
So I'll put them in.
And I learned it on YouTube, so there is no harm in learning at YouTube. I learned entire photography on YouTube, by the way. So somebody says how to use slow shutter speed, I first Google it. I have no shame.
There is one question from Namrata Vedi. Sir, has it happened that you were not convinced to shoot a particular campaign, maybe because of its concept, but still had to do? And how did you go about completing this campaign then?
That's a good
As
question.
a photographic, I never done anything like that. But as an art director, I did a lot of bad work. And because, agency wanted money or client is insisting on doing bad things. So I said, hell with him, that's his funeral. So I did bad work sometimes. And I've decided at this age now not to indulge in that kind of thing because it just ruins your name. And eventually that guy is going to say, this guy has done the work. Nobody will know, this guy has insisted and asked you
But
to.
they compelled you and.
Yeah. It's a good idea to stay away from such, because there will be situations where you want money and you have to do the work. My old boss used to say, try 2 times. Mohammed used to say, actually, give him 3 times good work. 4th time, if he insists, take his money and run. So you just take his money and run. Hide. So it's better to, you don't want to starve, so take his money. But as long as you hide and make it to the world known that, this guy is an idiot. So it's difficult because that sometimes you have to get into such situation.
A lot of photographers go through this dilemma whether to take up this job or not to take up, because the money factor again.
Yeah, so you have to run your life, so not denying.
So
And then this question from Jayati Saha. She's asking, sir, how do you think COVID-19 is going to impact the future of advertisement industry, and also people photography?
Also?
People photography.
No, hopefully there will be a vaccine and we'll don't have to worry about it. But if this continues for another 2-3 years, then the whole world is changing. Advertising will shift to net. What we are doing just now, we are talking, will not meet each other. How do I take this artistically great shot of your face? Is now I need to study on the screen. So yeah, so it's going to be I think it will be all right. I mean, if we have got the solutions for the plague, we will get a solution for this, and we will be out of this soon. We just have to save ourselves somehow and live.
Yes, it's self-assuring, you know. There's no other way to feel happy about either, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you do?
Stay positive is the only mantra right now.
No, so I mean, this is a good chance. I mean, thanks to F-Stop or you guys, you know, you're spreading this good, getting right people to talk
and getting to know so many things. So, जैसे आपकी बारे, मैं किसी के बारे में कल अमित जी की सुनी और आज आपकी सुनी हूँ, पहले भी सुनी.
No, so I mean, learning is in this time. I mean, where do you get chance to sit at home and say 3 months now, just decide to learn?
I have seen your pictures, but so many other factors go behind those.
So people take sabbaticals. This is like a paid sabbatical. Some companies are paying, but some companies are paying you half. That's fine. But you are taking a holiday, and that's the time you should use it to learn. I mean, I'm learning painting techniques, and I'm learning how to use written canvas. I mean, these are the different spaces, but you can utilize your time the way you want.
Absolutely. Yeah, also about the artists, we only get to see through social media. We get to see just the, you know, composition and what are the thoughts. जैसे आपने आज कहा कि बहुत research की ज़रूरत है, बहुत ज़्यादा homework की ज़रूरत है before you go and click. ये सब चीजें सुनने को बहुत कम मिलता है. You don't get a lot of opportunity to listen to all this wisdom. These are so precious, and it's. यही तो टिप्स है जो लोग कहते हैं आप टिप्स दीजिए जरा, आप जरा फोटोग्राफी की टिप्स दीजिए. I mean, this is what it is basically, you know, the life journey. And
looking at your street images, so there are so many different styles of street photography existing these days. Everybody has a different unique style. So how do you define your own style in street photography? And why do you only see black and white? So what is the main reason? Because now there is Dinesh Khanna sir sitting there, so he's in love with colors. And you are sitting
very
here.
Common question. I think people should stop asking this question: why black and white or why color? It's just the feel that point, and once you look at it, sometimes the black and white feels better, sometimes color feels better. What was your first question?
How do you define your own style of street?
Style. Okay. Style is nothing but, you know, you work at it for more than 10 years at anything. And you persistently keep working. Someday you see a pattern in your own way of looking at life. That pattern eventually becomes your style. When there is I mean, अभी किशोरी अमोणकर की स्टाइल ये घराने की है, but within that घराना there are 20 other singers who will do exactly this different styles. It's a 40 years of riyaz made them, you know, create their own something that becomes a style.
This is so valuable a lesson. I mean,
so valuable.
This is what it is. So valuable.
I think there is. I'll take one last question from YouTube. I think that's interesting because I also had similar kind of questions. So I'll take that only. Lashita Lunia is asking, so what's your most memorable moment as a photographer, which has impacted you as a person or has changed the way you think?
Moment as a photographer?
Yeah, so memorable moment as a photographer.
No, I mean, what happens is the good thing about photography is when you get some really interesting situation in front of you and you captured that moment, I mean, you will experience that. Everybody will experience that. And you feel such brilliance that, "Arey, I got it." And then you'll start showing it to a few people and say, get excited. And that's the beautiful moment. I mean, that changes your, you know, that day's perspective. You know, I mean, when I shot that horse picture that everybody likes, is that, you know, I was ready and then I was not expecting that guy to push his legs up and I'll get the shot. And then the cloud has also formed as if, you know, because of his swirl of his tail, the clouds are also moving. I mean, it looks like that, but the clouds pattern was like that on that day. So it just, you know, sometimes you just get so lucky and you know that moment you got a great shot. I mean, in your mind, if people like it, that's a different story. And such situation, every photographer will get once in a while and then say, "Arey, ye mil gaya yaar mast." So that's the elating moment.
But I think it is also a lot of planning, your visual, you know, planning or frame of mind. क्योंकि जहाँ से आपने लिया है वो photo, अगर वहां नहीं बैठते तो शायद that
ये वो तो सही बात है, तू कैमरा लेके बाहर नहीं पड़ी तो तेरे को कभी शॉट ही नहीं मिलने वाला है. So it's like that, no? I mean,
the angle I'm talking about, I think from the lower to the up, how the horse has been placed in the
it's all about going out. So what people say is you have to go with the camera out every day, walk and take photos.
Serendipity happens to the person who wakes up in the morning.
Yes.
So जो ढूंढने की कोशिश करते हैं उसको ही मिलता है. There is a phrase, रोने वाले बच्चे को ही माँ दूध पिलाती है. So you need to go out and seek for something, then only you get. Otherwise, nobody gives you.
Absolutely.
कभी ऐसा हुआ है सर कि आप बड़े awkward pose में एक स्ट्रीट पे कहीं पे कुछ एक फोटो क्रिएट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जब उठ के देखा तो चारों तरफ भीड़ थी, सब आपको देख रहे थे.
आप ही को देख रहे हैं. हाँ, ऐसा हुआ है क्या? It's a good question. Yes.
नहीं, आजकल कोई नहीं देखता यार. मर गया आदमी तो भी नहीं देखता है.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's an amazing session. I think so fulfilling. And Maushmi ji, I think it's
नहीं, जस्सी जी, आज अगर किस्मत की बात करें तो वुड आज मेरी तरफ बैठी है, क्योंकि you know I have spoken about Prashant ji so many times with you कि आज मैं यहाँ हूँ, ये दिग्गज है. I don't know if I even fulfill the criteria to be amongst them, but I'm so lucky, and thank you to everybody. Prashant ji, Dinesh ji has been always a mentor. I mean, kuch puchu na, he's always guiding. I mean, whoever knows him, I mean, I think they will swear by it. He's a mentor all the time, mentoring you for everything.
So I'm about Hamara and Dinesh, I mean, I've seen.
I mean, he's so good at it.
It's not, it's impossible to find people who encourage and share and say, please go and look, and it's so encouraging to do the stuff when you get such encouragement. And I mean, Dinesh and
और सबसे बड़ी बात है, दिनेश जी इसकी वेट नहीं करते कि मैं उस आदमी को जानती हूँ.
lot of photographers are,
he will invite a stranger and absolutely.
I was hearing the conversation. अरे इसका काम देखो, बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहा है. I mean, it comes from the heart. I mean, there is no insecurity, there is no अरे मेरे से अच्छा काम कर रहा है, मेरे से अच्छी बात करेगा.
Hey, sir, this is your program, not about me.
Not only you, Samar also does that. So it's we are not giving you full credit, Dinesh. Don't worry.
Thank you.
We are very blessed to have lived in this year where people, I mean, photographers like me or a lot of us got this opportunity to, through this medium, to get to know you, to get your blessings, get your guidance. This is amazing time. COVID हो ना हो, मुझे लगता है कि COVID का कोई अगर अच्छी चीज है, there's something that has positive that has come out of this entire sordid period is these sessions.
हाँ, तो मैंने कल मेरी एक बात हो रही थी यूएस में, जर्मनी में एक फोटोग्राफर से, and he came on our session, and so he ended up giving us private one-on-one tuition, teaching as well on processing. So I just told him that, and I think I'm going to repeat it here, that I would really like to thank Corona Uncle for introducing us to all of you wonderful people. It's been amazing, and if it was not for Corona, everything comes. There's a silver lining in every dark cloud, and I think this is the silver lining. That for me, honestly, it's kind of a fanboy moment that to be surrounded by Prashant sir and Dinesh sir and Samar sir and Fauzan sir, and I could have never imagined. So Amit sir yesterday. So these people, couple of months before, I could not have imagined. And today, everybody is on the platform. We are sharing such wonderful stories and such inspiring stories. And people say you don't get tired. I said I get rejuvenated. I get tired when I don't do these things, because I am ready to do this every day, and I've been virtually doing it almost every day. And it's amazing. And thank you so much, everybody, Dinesh sir in particular, for really supporting, and actually Prashant sir for agreeing to be on this platform and sharing your story.
Dinesh sir called me personally and said, please do. I said, okay.
I have a question. I have not met you personally, so I believe your sense of humor is also something to talk about, because that sometimes shows in your images. Quite a lot of times.
Yeah.
Am I right in judging that?
No. It's you have to do all sorts of things in life, so it's one of those things. In advertising, we use a lot of humor so we are looking for humor. You know, again, you have to search for the humor, and you keep listening to the joke and see what makes people laugh is what you need to learn. Yeah, so
it's basically observation, lot of research, putting your mind into it, and then getting there where you really create an image. So great learning, Aaron. The process
all right. So lovely. Thank you for.
Thank you so much.
Everybody,
Thank you, Prashant.
Yeah, customary smile and then, yeah, bye. So let me take a snapshot, screenshot. So
yeah, please take.
Yeah, everybody with their
Thumbs
thank
up?
you.
Okay.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah.
Up.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant.
Thank you, Prashant. Thank you,
Thanks,
Jesse.
Dinesh.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
See you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.